Remix. 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 Remix.
What it do, niggas?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Remix Morning Show right here on Black Liberation Media. Geechee, Amber, and Jared bringing you this edition, the Friday edition of the greatest morning show in the history of media. How you all doing? What's up?
Lovely.
I lost my voice, but I'm okay.
Lost your voice? What you was doing? What you yelling at?
Yelling.
Who you yelling at? That's who.
I was at a convention last week and I was yelling. It was a lot going on.
Jared is at a convention too, but I don't know if he was yelling at those people.
Nope.
Not the college people.
Huh?
Nope. I just sat quietly, largely in disagreement, and but supportive, you know. Try to work with folks.
I wouldn't try to work with them. You nicer than me.
In some cases, I think it's necessary to work with folks we don't agree with, and sometimes that we don't like. But it is what it is. But I definitely love the people filing in the chat, and we encourage those who are doing so and others who will see this later to like, share, subscribe, put this in your socials, support the platform however you see fit. And don't be stingy. All the relevant links are in the show description. And
like, comment, subscribe.
Do all of those things. Do absolutely all of those things. And join the Patreon.
Better, though. It doesn't sound as hoarse as it was before.
What happened?
Oh, I was saying my voice is getting better, though. It's not as hoarse as it was before.
So I know this, we're not going to start the conversation yet, but so this thing around working with people that you don't agree with or appeasing them for a period of time or a tactical reason. So for instance, when people talk about the tactics of nonviolence, so that there could be a logical and justifiable conclusion of when it's time for violence. Amber, I know Jared said like he has to work with people, but do you feel like the people you disagree with, you have to be in rooms with them because you might want to reach the people that they're reaching? Like, do you see, like, you don't have to get along or agree with them, but you could kind of like entertain their whatever so that you can delegitimize it or do something else with it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say I've never been in rooms with people I don't like. I'm saying that I'm not quiet about it. I feel like a lot of times people have to be around people they don't really fuck with and they just kind of take it on the chin. And I don't. I make my disapproval very loud and very blatant because I don't want people to ever feel comfortable with their bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Jared,
like that segregated ass convention I was at last week, but it's fine. You know, sometimes segregation saves us because although I was yelling and lost my voice, all the white people got COVID. So,
oh wow,
that's why I stayed my black ass with the niggas.
Yeah, Jared, you have a method that you when to say something.
I think there's a. I just think there's a. I think. I think. I'm not entirely sure, but I because I think it's important to raise principled criticism. I've said before that I've agreed for years with what Deruba has said about everything should be on the table except for tactics and strategy. And I agree. But in practice, I have to say that that has not been my experience. My experience has largely been if you voice disagreement, regardless of how it's conveyed and regardless of the context, it often leads to segregation, marginalization, separation, isolation. It doesn't lead to I had to remind myself, literally taking the walk this morning, I had to remind myself, there is a, for lack of a better word, a conflict. There are two conflicts I am desperate internally to have, probably three. And what I have to remind myself is the experience, the exchange you want to happen does not happen and will not happen. So I'm not going to do it. Because what often happens is you raise even principled criticism or just disagreement on an issue, and the response is, I'm not fucking with him anymore. Mm-hmm. Regardless of the history, regardless of any track record of behavior and principled engagement. And now, that said, I mean, so that's that setting. Now, where I was this past weekend, I haven't engaged yet, just because of where I am vis-a-vis this organization. Mm-hmm. I'm relatively new. I'm at the margins. I haven't put in a lot of time. I'm catching up. I'm still learning about things. So I'm just listening and watching. When asked some direct questions, I said, I heard this, that, and the third on the panel I don't agree with, and I would like to discuss. But in terms of trying to raise some now, and that's on the issue of ideas and politics. Now, if we're talking about some actual behavior, in terms of some violence or misconduct, that has to be addressed, aggressively and loudly. I don't suffer that, but mm-hmm. This other stuff, I'm still struggling to try to figure out what exactly, how exactly to best move with that,
So we two things real quick. Like there's there's this tactic that we engage a person in a space in our neighborhood, and we wanted to like have access to the space, but we kind of utilizing that person to have access to the space, so they're kind of like a part of a committee that we develop, and they're like contrarian to everything. Like their style is to like, you can, if you have 5 words to say in a sentence, by the time you get number 2, they're already going to disagree, like all the time. And so somebody who's contrarian to, like, they have that method of oppositional, a style of communicating, there can be like, damn, they always against something, they always whatever. And so on the inverse, like when I'm in spaces where I think Chitamacha was saying, like when you're outnumbered, it's difficult to challenge. Mm-hmm. This thing, the idea I think of it, I call it like a push method, where you're going to say like 10 things that I know I'm going to disagree with. I'm going to listen and I'm going to take one of them and then I'm going to push against it kind of lightly to see how other people respond to it. And I'm not even sure that that's always effective, but it seems to always yield people in that space to come in to talk to me afterward and be like, oh, I like that question you said, or that thing you said, and it can further develop. But I feel like if you are the person who's against everything in the meeting, no matter if you're right or not, you're going to sound like the contrarian, and it's going to isolate, I don't want to say it's going to isolate you, but because of the space, you're going to be isolated or the whatever. So I think that's kind of why I'm saying like maybe the tactics and methods to maybe not even look at it as you're taking it one on the chin per se, just kind of like, just know the space that you're in, and this is probably the best you can do. And this is, Jared, why I always will disagree with you in terms of how you feel like you're showing up in no space. Like you can't do but so much other than lay that shit out, especially because it's recorded and people can always go back and be like, well, he did say this and this was clear. And you don't have to kind of win the argument, which goes back to me, you and Air Doctor conversation, because I'm pivoting back and forth where sometimes you can concede to certain things and just say a thing. and leave it there and not really get back and forth. So the showmanship is not always important, but it depends on what the objective that you have for this engagement.
Hold up, you saying you don't agree with me on something?
Yeah, I don't agree when you be downplaying. he be downplaying how he be showing up in spaces sometimes. You be downplaying that shit, bro. Like,
I get it. It's hard when you light skin though. You don't want to do too much. I get it. I do want to say I agree with what someone said in the thing about how you appear in like smaller private spaces than larger ones. Although I don't agree with like minimizing in any situation, but I've never been in a small private situation with niggas I don't fuck with. I wouldn't even put myself in that kind of situation because I don't trust them. So even in those type of things, like even at the convention, there was thousands of people there. I just stayed with the black people. But I was in spaces with people I don't fuck with. I just wasn't like directly around them. We were all in a big ass convention hall. But I do think that you downplayed a little bit, Jerry. I agree with Geechee. I think that also there's a power in like speaking up about stuff and not being silent, even not to appear too contrarian. Like it doesn't have to be loud, but I do think that even like small dissent matters. Like I think that's important. That's just me.
Yeah, I hear you, and I would like to make black debates great again, but my experience, and I think some others have shared this when they've tried, is folks don't really want to. And people really, they don't really want to do that. And there's I don't know, but I think that would be great.
Maybe the word is co-opted and or demonized, because whenever one says that they don't want to argue, they like say, well, I don't want to debate. And even an argument, even as I sometimes tell people, like, I hear your argument. They're like, I'm not arguing. I'm like, okay. So maybe the words
I mean, like the argument you're trying to make doesn't mean you're arguing.
Yeah.
I do think people struggle with that. And I encountered it a lot, like just in orgs or like even in like community-based stuff. I'm like, we're not arguing. I'm having a discussion. Like this county commissioner who voted the wrong way on something. I went to the like down there afterwards to talk to her, and I was just talking to her about it. And she was like, it's fine. We're not going to agree. Like we don't have to argue. I said, it's not arguing. We're having a discussion. You're an elected official. I think you made a bad vote. I'm explaining why you made a bad vote. But instead of you listening to me, you said if I say something to you again, you're going to jump over the mic and whip my ass. That is not the way you talk to people.
Wait, that's what she said?
That's what she said. And I was like, that's so crazy that you're elected. You're like a few years older than me. So you're not young as fuck. You're elected and you can't even just have a discussion with people that are your constituents. I live in her district, like in the smack middle of her district. It's not like I live on the edge or like I don't know her. I see her all the time. I talk to her all the time. She invited me to her birthday party. Like I know who she is, and she can't have a basic ass discussion. I was like, that's crazy. You're so afraid of dissent that you can't even talk about it. It's wild.
Now, here's an example of lines that I think need to be drawn. A collaboration between Black Liberation Media, Yvette Carnell, and Tariq Nasheed. First of all, I want to see the email when someone tries to set up a collabo between Yvette and Tariq.
Right.
Never mind us. By the way, I don't want to overdo it, but at later this morning, I did go over a new study about ADOS and white nationalist immigration policy, and that video is going to drop at 10 a.m. And it's and I had a little fun with it because I brought in my atheist debates a little bit, had a little fun with it. It's going to be
atheism.
So Goddess Crew, I'm not sure who pulled this.
It was me. I was just gonna say Goddess Crew said they're lost. Yeah. And the problem is Geechee started the stream all serious and shit when we supposed to be shenanigans again at first and then become serious.
I don't think that's what Goddess Crew means when they say they are lost.
Well, I'm just
because they don't want us to go through shenanigans. I can assure you that.
I like shenanigans. He's so serious. So serious. But yeah, I was just gonna say that
getting unlost.
We're talking about the idea of debate or discussion with people you don't like ideologically get along with. Is that what you're thinking, Jared? Or like just people that are in different like groups in general.
It is, you know, at a certain point, you know, as I've said, I found, you know, the co-founders of ADOS, I think, are a good example of disingenuous engagement. Like, I did try to engage them in person, to their face, online, elsewhere, privately, in email. We, you know, and at a certain point, their hostility, the lies, and all of that, it's like we can't. There's no point. There's, you know. So I'm not talking about that. That's why I said, and I prefaced carefully choosing the words as I did, principled disagreement or criticism. If there's, you know, if we're working together and it's like, and you know, I say something, it's like, all right, Jared, I just disagree with that. And in the context of us having built up a working relationship, maybe being in an organization together or on a project together, we should be able to have that discussion, even if it gets a little animated, even if it evolves into an actual argument. I don't think that in and of itself should mean hostility, et cetera, and so forth. Even if it gets to the point where it's like, look, I gotta, you know, I need to take a breath and take a walk. We're gonna calm down and come back, and, you know, that's all fine, because there's at least an idea that there's a shared goal with this, that we're trying to get to another level together. For the purposes of some sort of, but when it's been clarified that you know, so for instance, and it's not just ADOS, certain forms of nationalist groups, I'll just speak personally, they've said, and they've made it clear to me, even directly to my face, Jared, you can't be with this, you can't work with this formation. Whether it's been an issue of at times being mixed, or at a certain times just a certain politics, Jared, this is not where you can be, and it's fine. And it's like, okay, it's clear. We're not going to have a debate. We're not going to have an argument. You're going to go over there, do your work. I'm going to go over here and do mine, and that's fine. And we don't have to. Can you debate ADOS, Dr. Ball, on the position of Black people's labor, though? I would not debate I'm not interested in debating the co-founders of ADOS at this point. I feel like they've lost that privilege to engage me. They've lost the privilege. If others who are in that ideological or political space want to have a discussion that's principled with certain, you know, I'm not necessarily opposed to that. Although I would say that given the politics and expressed goals of ADOS, there's really nothing for us to debate. If and especially after reviewing this latest study, to the extent it's accurate, if your stated project and goal is to wedge yourself solely to the United States and its most conservative political apparatus, there's really nothing else for us to discuss. And we don't have to be enemies, but there's really no purpose I think in us having a debate or a discussion. The project isn't we're not on the same team. So I'm really only interested in debating and disagreeing and having discussions with people in these spaces, you know, where we're already within a certain room, so to speak, and then just disagreeing at what side of the room we're on. So yeah,
you got limits to who you're willing to have the debates with.
I mean, at this point, plus, you know, I'm about to be 54. I mean, you know, I'm Black man old, and you know, and I'm even upper, you know, I'm even mixed man upper, you know, past, you know, halfway point. So like, you gotta, like, I can't be just out here arguing with, you know, with any, and then nowadays, you know, and in certain cases, like with one of the co-founders of another YouTube platform, you know, they start threatening. So it's like, you threatening physical, you know, I'm like, man, I'm 55. I'm not, that's not happening. What I look like at 50 years old, talk about with somebody on YouTube, we gonna fight like this. I'm like, I'm not interested.
Listen,
I'm not interested in that.
Before we get to the reading around socialism, so you said
We're
all
not
three of
doing that till 9. So
well, anyway, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, wow, I didn't know we had a
I don't know. I didn't know we had a time either. But like I said, before we get to it,
We have a guest, so yeah.
We have a guest. Oh, we do have a guest. That's right. Yeah, where is our? I thought. Wait, he's not a guest. I don't count.
Okay.
Yeah, where's he at? Oh, he's not showing up till.
Yeah, he'll come in when he comes in.
All right. Okay.
But question: you use the word, all three of the words interchangeably, right? Debate, argue, discussion. And I see somebody here
That's a good point.
saying I'm not against having a discussion because debates are for audience. And
I hear you. That makes sense. Yeah.
And John says not everyone has the patience in order to have a discussion. So could we
That's also legit.
Can we all be like, is there a distinction between the three? Like,
I think there's a distinction for me. I don't think the debates have to be for an argument. I think debates can happen like one-on-one or in larger groups. But to me, discussions, I'm not like bringing like points and evidence. I'm just kind of talk about it. Like, it's like a casual chat. Like, you talk about something, I'd be like, oh, okay, interesting. I thought this. Like, that's not a debate. Debate is more like I'm bringing specific facts and points to counter what you're saying. I'm either on the affirmative or the defense, one of the two, and like I have a very clear point that I'm trying to make. In discussions, I don't usually have a clear point I'm trying to make. I might just be kind of gauging what you think about something and just kind of seeing like what you think. In discussions, usually to me are more lighthearted. Like, they don't have to be about something serious.
Well, I would only differentiate on the basis of structure. Like, I might have a very serious discussion and there's points I want to make in a discussion, but it doesn't have the structure of a debate. And I think, so I do think there's some clarity that needs to be, I think it's right to clarify my interchangeable use. Like, and when I meant argument, I just meant when we sort of go off script and there's some elevated tone and energy.
If we arguing, I'm trying to hurt your feelings. So that's the key difference for me.
Ooh, I wouldn't. I'm
calling out all the stops because I don't argue like that. I don't argue for free for one, and I don't argue often for two because it takes a lot of energy. So if we arguing, I'm probably never gonna talk to you again after the argument. So I'm probably gonna put all the stops. I'm gonna lay it all out there. I'm about to really hurt your feelings so that we can have one good last conversation.
Argument is a felony too.
An argument is
they understand. Dre understands me. I just want to say, Winston said, I like shenanigans too, Amber. And I agree, Winston. We should go back to shenanigan again.
Okay. Huh?
What do you think, Geechee?
What, in terms of the three things or the shenanigans?
The three things.
So yeah, I think a discussion can be informal. I actually don't like, well, I don't like just somebody just saying something and don't have any like basis or source of where they're coming from. So I don't know if I would just want a discussion for discussion's sake. Like, I think an acknowledgement of where you're getting information from should also be required in the discussion at some point. Like banter and all that other stuff is different. A debate, yes, like it should be structured if you want it to be effective and people can get their thoughts out and respond. And then the argument, as Jared said, is more of like a heightened unscripted conversation that could lead into a fight or it could just be, left there. But yeah.
I think that's a good point too. Anyways, back to the fun stuff.
Man.
What was y'all doing this week? Let me find my little intro thing. Hold on.
Man, can I share? I just want to put this out there, man. My daughters are amazing and they're already smarter than me. They're already better than I am. Mm-hmm. And they're already better people than I am. And so I just want to share two things very quickly. One, later today,
take your time.
My oldest daughter is giving a presentation on the role of PA 1406450 and the ability of Pseudomonas aeruginosa to form biofilm during catheter urinary tract infections. I understand like 3 words in that thing. So I'm and yeah, that's about it. And my youngest, despite getting another bit of setback news regarding her recovery in time for what would be her senior year on the football field. Has just responded with it with an attitude of, you know, it's all good. We're gonna move past this and make it work. When I know for a fact I would have been in a collapsed, angry, depressive state for months had that been me. I'd have been like,
Friday Night Lights.
I'd have been like, fuck the world. It's time to wreak havoc on it. How dare the universe engage me this way? But not baby girl, man. She just I want to take credit for it, but I don't even know. So I just wanted to shout them out real quick before we get into the shenanigans.
That's dope.
No, that's
Yeah,
good.
I'm very proud, man. I'm very man.
Injuries for athletes be a lot. My little cousin,
man,
plays
it'd be a
basketball,
lot.
and she tore her ACL, and she got setback on her recovery too. And she a little sad about it, but she's like working through it. But
Yeah,
honestly,
salute.
she admitted it's her fault because she didn't follow the instructions all the way in the beginning like she should.
Oh wow.
So she said, "I get it. I'm working through it." I was like, "They told you to go to physical therapy. Why is you skipping out?"
So that's
wonder,
baby girl been on hers. Yeah.
I wonder if I'm because I'm a former athlete, am I biased that it seemed like young people have way more knowledge about sports and injuries than we did? Like, because I was
absolutely.
I was at the point where I think my junior year is when we started getting concussion, anti-concussion helmets. We went from the regular hard ass helmet to them, and then, so I wonder if like that helps them cope.
Oh, they have to. Well, that's a good point. I don't know to what extent it works. Maybe that's something. But yeah, I hope that's a good question. They definitely know more. There's so much more available information and discussion of things. I mean, I was still in the era where it was walk it off, and if you see stars, just take a breath or two and get back, figure it out. Because even in soccer, even in basketball, you get something, and they just, I remember literally seeing the stars, and they were like, "Nah, you be good, you be all right. Walk it off." Or Chris Rock said, "Put some tussin on it," huh?
Man said, "I'm seeing stars," and they said, "No, go back out there."
Yeah, seriously. You see, I'm like, I see the little squiggly lines and all the stuff and all the, and they're like, "Yeah, you'll be all right. Just, Yeah, it was really like if you not unconscious, you can play.
Listen, I lost, well, not lost, but there's two of my friends that grew up with. One of them, his concussion had him drinking water out of the helmet. And then another one, like he had a concussion, and then the coach sat us down and he looked at him. He's like, "What's your grandfather's name?" He looked at me. He said, "Bro, I don't know." I said, "Just lie. Tell him any name. Nigga, let's go." But then, so I wasn't. But now,
logic. You better come up with a name. Say something.
Just lie is crazy. What if he knew his grandfather's name?
Huh?
Just lie is crazy. What if he knew his grandfather's name?
No, I'm saying his concussion wouldn't allow him to remember it. And I'm saying, like, if that's the test to get back in the game,
like the coach asked him that, right?
Oh, well, yeah, that coach didn't know.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say, what if?
But coaches, I bet even a lot of coaches, even if they did know, if they heard any name, they'd be like, "That's close enough. Get back out there. He'll be all right." He said a black man.
And I only had one. I had like a light one in college, and like the quarterback threw the ball over the middle, like, and I just lunged out for it. I know I couldn't catch it, but I lunged out for it. The linebacker, I was dizzy a little bit. I played again, and then on the plane ride home, they was like, "Don't go to sleep." I was like, "Shit," and I went to sleep. So now, I mean, I think there's no way not to go to sleep. I don't know how. I don't even know what that meant. I don't even know if
I don't know how they do things.
I want to highlight Brittany comment real quick. She said, "I feel like a lot of us are like Amber when it comes to arguing. Not the best approach, but it's fun, and that's what matters. What matters is the fun that we all had in the end."
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like a good argument. you know, even if I end up disagreeing or not liking what the other person is saying, I do like to hear how people make an argument. And I think there are ways you can make really good arguments for bad reasons, or, you know, for bad conclusions. But sleeping when
Hold on, put it
concussed
back
can
up
lead
so
to
we can read
seizures.
it out loud. Sleeping while concussed
while,
can lead to seizures. That's why they said you shouldn't do it.
But I think mine was like,
Accessibility, Geechee.
and that was a long time ago.
I'm saying accessibility, like you got to read the comment.
Oh, I know.
Someone in the chat was talking about don't argue, just debate. I actually will say, like, especially in organizing, I enjoy having random discussions more just to kind of see what people think about different things. And then it might turn into a debate later on, or I might like debate them at a different time. But I feel like I learned the most about where people's thoughts are about stuff, because sometimes I think we assume someone doesn't feel the same way we do about something until we have a discussion with them. And if they don't, usually the next time we talk, I can convince them, but I would have never known if I didn't actually discuss it with them, which is why I like talking to random people, because I feel like you do learn a lot and it strengthens your own organizing. Like if I'm as an abolitionist, I'm trying to convince other people to be abolitionists. If I never talk to people who aren't abolitionists, then I'll never strengthen my arguments. And like talking to, especially like my older family members, has really given me good insight on what are their like thinking points and ideology around abolition. Even when, like, a good example is when I got arrested. My uncle, he works for the criminal court clerk, like he's her operational director or whatever. And he texted me like a week or so afterwards. He was like, yeah, I've been going in that building for almost 40 years now, and I've never been to jail. Don't you go back? And I had to tell him, like, the only person who can control me going to jail are the police. This assumption that it's your fault if you get arrested is not realistic, and it's not true, because I didn't do anything wrong. And he was like, I had to sit with that because I never thought of it like that before. I was like, yeah, we put a lot of blame on people for going to jail without looking at how they got there in the first place. I can't stop anyone from arresting me. That's not something I'm able to do. The police will do whatever they want. The only thing I can do is operate in my power and push back the best way I can. But at the end of the day, I don't control that. And now he thinks about it a little bit differently. But if I had never had a discussion with him or said something, then he probably would have just kept the same ideology. So I think it's always interesting to talk to people about like just what they think in general.
Well, speaking of shenanigans and what I think in general, I did want to share something, if I could, real quick, because I saw a bit of news that I find disturbing and I find to be quite shenaniganish. And because my ancestry DNA says that I am 6% Benin, from Benin, I want to say that I do not co-sign this story about Spike Lee and his wife becoming ambassadors for African Americans to Benin. So on the one hand, I, as at least, 50% Black American, I do not accept that he's speaking for me on that behalf. And as 6% from Benin, I don't accept him speaking for me on that behalf. The other thing I just want to note, when I just went and revisited my ancestry numbers, you know what it occurred to me? There are no, especially after having just gone through this ADOS thing, there is no category for Black America. Like the breakdown doesn't include African America. So I think even at the level of DNA, we are at a I don't know if this is the right word, at a mitochondrial level, we are rejecting ADOS FBA analysis and identification. At the deepest, most ingrained biological level, it makes no sense. Just throwing that out there. Just
My
find that
slow
interesting.
disdain for Spike Lee has grown so exponentially over the last 10 years. I do not like that nigga. I just don't like him.
The ambassador.
Oh man.
I thought the US would name them ambassador instead of
Other countries can name their own ambassadors.
No, well, what I'm saying though is like,
I don't know. The story seems. I mean, the story. It's
They can
they're
name like
called.
their own like
It's
they figurative-
Benin has appointed renowned American filmmaker Spike Lee and his wife Tanya Lewis Lee as a seasoned producer and author as its ambassador for African Americans. The couple are expected to serve as, quote, thematic ambassadors, raising awareness and supporting initiatives to promote Benin's ties with people of African descent. When I read that, I read this is a 21st century Alex Haley grift. This is the
like
Roots grift.
figurative ambassador.
It's the Roots grift. It's we're gonna have silly celebrities promote a facile base Pan-Africanism so we can get tourist money.
Yeah, okay.
Ain't nobody going to Benin, beloved.
But it's directed, so Benin,
that's not what they think.
Benin's ambassador for African Americans, so only
Yeah.
to the black people in America.
Yeah, only to black people,
Yeah.
and only quote unquote thematically, and that's what I'm saying. It's because it was Equatorial Guinea, I believe, that had to deal with Haley. They had that special arrangement, and basically was we all know that this story is nonsense, and we all know that you stole this story from that sister. And we're going to go ahead but the grift is too strong. So we're going to support this idea that people can come on their Kunta Kinte tour and we're going to confer upon you some Africanness and you go out here and so that's what I'm seeing. There's a lot of this silly Pan-Africanism going on. Yeah. That is based on some sort of black capitalist business arrangement and not on any kind of real politics.
Geechee,
it's Geechee in Japan.
They have really important questions for you. Someone also said Geechee's on the set of Shogun. I could see that.
Oh damn! Yo, that series was hot. That reboot was hot. I hope they come back.
Well, I'm a little bit older. Rising Sun was the movie that also had this.
So I'm older than you. So I was with the first Shogun, the TV movie with the original white man going to Japan, and then Rising Sun. Salute to Wesley.
My cousin. No,
why y'all talking about that aggression in the chat?
I don't feel like it's pent up. I feel like it's out here. It's just outward. It's not pent up. It's free range aggression.
It's very blatant, actually. Yeah, let me go to my little transition thingy. Welcome to the Remix Morning Show. This is Amber with your favorite segment, Amber's Approach. It's Jerry with the little dance in the back. Y'all couldn't see it, but it's so cute. So adorable.
The beat is hot.
Okay, so this week, I just want to say, I don't think we should take weeks off. Last week, I was so bored because I had so much to talk about, and I didn't get to do it.
I don't think we should take weeks off. That's just wild.
That's all I'm going to say. But secondly, in the realm of my chaotic dating life, I kind of like cut pretty much everybody off again and added 2 new people. And I realized that I don't know if I want to keep doing this for too much longer because it do be a little all over the place. It's kind of fun, but also it's like, I feel like I find more solace, honestly, in my friendships. Like, because I talk to my friends more than I talk to people that I'm dating usually, I feel like I'm finding way more solace in that. And I also feel like people don't have actual platonic relationships that much anymore. I do, but I notice a lot of other people don't. And I really enjoy like having friends. It's really fun. Something happened to me. I was at the dinner with my friends a few days ago. We were at this restaurant and it was 2 of my friends that I know and then one guy that I was cool with that they didn't know. It was 3 guys and me. And I had ordered this Caesar salad and I didn't like it. I had like 1 bite and I was like, I don't like it. So I told the waiter guy. He was acting confused. He was like, I just made it in the back. I was like, yeah, but I don't want to eat it. And then my 2 friends were like, she said she doesn't want the Caesar salad. And I was like, see, you can get this same thing from friends. I don't have to date a man to get them to stand up for me. You just need good friends. And I feel like I'm kind of switching to that now, where I don't feel like I want to date as many people at once anymore, but I would much rather put more attention and like water my friendships. Because I also feel like as you get older, you need like solid friendships because a lot of people are going to die alone. What do you guys think?
I think you're right. And I'm speaking to someone who has not watered friendships in many ways. I think I can be self-critical with that. And a lot of folks have dropped off. So I can't imagine. I also hear just growth that after a certain point, it's like I need to get serious about who I'm spending my time with, and you know, I remember vividly thinking if like I remember thinking like I see her, I want to have sex with her, but I wouldn't want her to have my children, and that became like a clear sign. I was like, yeah, you need to chill, like evolve. Water some of these relationships or the relationship you want to have. Although I have not been good enough with my friendships. I'm down to like 2 like old friends. I lost a couple though. Like COVID actually quietly off the record
Like
did some damage to my friend. Yeah. Like with all, you know, like, I mean, familially, you know, my brother and I did lose our sister. May she rest in power. And then, but I lost at least 2 really good homeboys, and some other, you know, satellite folks, during that COVID thing.
And it's difficult because it's also hard to make. I think it's hard to like make friends again at a certain age. Like I feel like once you're over like 40, making new friends again can be tough because it's also like I have to tell you so much stuff about me. I don't want to do all that.
And then there's value in, like, I've watched, you know, people who've had like really old friendships. Like I don't have like since high school and elementary school friendships, and
and I kind of am jealous of that just a little bit. I've gotten over my jealousy, but also like I think it's different when you go to school, people in your neighborhood. So like I went to high school across town, so the people who were at the school were all friends with each other because they literally walked home. I wasn't really friends with any of them other than being on Facebook, and most of them I unfriended over time anyways, but I wasn't really close friends with any of them because I didn't live like nearby. And then in elementary school, all of those friends moved to different places, so I never like stayed in contact. So I used to think it was like kind of sucky, but also I was like, I would much rather have quality friendships than just a long friendship.
Facts. So, but I also, part of it for me was that there's a break for me because of a lot of it is political. That I remember the Reginald Lewis Black Psychology classic book that had all these essays in it, and I remember the one on the 4 stages of negrescence. And I went through those 4 stages, and that 4th stage, I believe it's the 4th stage. It points out that you have a whole new friend group because it's such a cultural and political shift. I had to cut ties. I remember I sat down with a group of friends and told them, we're not hanging out anymore. It's been fun. It's been real. But I can't do this anymore. I'm not interested in this life anymore. And you don't want where I'm going. So
I agree. Yeah, I've had to be like, I'm just not going to talk to you anymore. And it's okay. I was like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, people grow and evolve. I'm not friends with many people that don't have like the same political beliefs as me. Usually, like, the one friend I have that's not an abolitionist, she be on the verge sometimes. So I think she'll get converted pretty soon. But most of them, like, they have to have pretty close.
Jeb wrote his friends a Dear John letter, except I delivered it. And one of them, I delivered it over drinks.
That's wild. Speaking of
John,
John,
I was like, this is it. This is a wrap.
I just want to say shout out to my biggest fan, John, because he said it's the Amber Show
finally. Yeah.
Appreciate you, John. You're a real one. And Erica said that when I listen to Jasmine Sullivan's roster, I'm reminded of you. You know, that's a great song, actually. I just want to say. And I, too, be thinking there's one spot on the roster left for you when I look at the right guy. I was in New York last week also. So at first, I was in Philly for the
Slow down. Let me get something in there before you go there. Because you just talk about platonic and this, that. Slow down. So one, I want to examine if there's even like if platonic relationships are possible, especially in the way in which we meet people, because it would mean that you would have to speak for the other person that don't have sexual attraction, vice versa. I feel like sometimes that's always a blurry line with men and women. Yes, we should have way more intimate relationships in all ways, family, friends, whatever. I'm also trying to figure out when people say friends, what do that mean? Did it mean you have to talk all the time? How you got to talk? I'm more of a quality over quantity. I do have a lot of long-term friends that I grew up with, friends and family. One, for instance, my cousin Devin. And I actually had to be reminded this when I went to my mother's house a couple weeks ago. I've been around Devin since when I was born. We were around each other because my father and his father are brothers. And so we've been around. And so there's pictures. I've always known Devin. I don't think I've never not known Devin. And we just grew up together. We still like, he's in Atlanta too. Best man at his wedding. Like there's never been a time, but not only we friends, but we like 2 times cousins because I'm kin to him on his mother side and father side. But then there's a lot of people that I've grew up with. And again, we don't talk every day, but like when we talk, it's almost like we never really parted or whatever. So I'm curious when people say like friendship, what do exactly they mean? Like how do you qualify or quantify a friendship based off of?
Can I also just quickly ask, would anyone accept someone as a best man at their wedding if you were not a best man at theirs? And then a quick shout out to future Dr. Erica Brown and Black Men Build. We all had a nice session last night on financial literacy that will be on the YouTube channel of Black Men Build later today, I believe. So please check that out. It was dope. It was it was fun. But yeah, because I didn't have best man at my wedding because the 2 closest friends that I had did not have me as best man at theirs. So I was like, straight up, I was like, I'm going to have one, and there ain't going to be one.
Yeah,
straight up. Right. I was like, if I'm your best man, how you gonna be mine? I was like,
well, I guess you could have 2, but can't you have 2 or something like that?
But I wasn't one for them. So I didn't have one. I was like, I'm just gonna do this dolo. Born alone, die alone. No crew to keep my crown a throne. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, I mean Devin will be my best man, but it's kind of like I also got other people that we really close to, so I don't know. And then lastly, Amber, this not having people that not in line with your politics. Again, I'm curious how that goes, and then sometimes I'm even curious about what is the politics of abolitionism, because it's like I hear it as such a broad thing. I don't really know what I mean, but I wonder what that would look like, or if that would that contradict what you're saying in terms of like having a myriad of friends? Like you will be limiting yourself because, I would assume some of your family members, close family members, don't have what you call abolition politics.
Yeah, first I just want to address Burger accent. If I was over 40, I'm not. I was making an analogy. Secondly, I'm a fresh 30. Anyway, secondly, I was saying the thing about friends because as you mentioned about family, most of my family is not. Like most of my family has very, to me, Republican-like political ideology. So I feel like if I have to be around they bullshit, I would at least want friends that are more aligned with me. But they're not. When I say some of them are a little abolitionists, I mean like they have some beliefs around policing that I agree with, but most of them aren't full on, abolitionists or organizing for abolition or socialism or anything. They're not super heavily involved in like social movements at all. So I like to have at least some people who believe the same thing I believe, are working towards that. And if they're not working towards it, they at least have some ideology around it that's similar to mine, because most of my family is pretty much the exact opposite. My mom, I think that she's changed a lot actually as we've been growing up. I think the other thing about, like, when I said having discussions and stuff, I feel like because we don't talk to our family as much anymore, we don't actually know where they stand sometimes. And when I talk to my mom, I find out so much more about her beliefs around stuff that are actually very similar to mine. But because we never really, my sister and I kind of wrote her off a little bit because she's just very, like, middle class black womanish sometimes, very capitalist, and kind of believes in, to me, she would believe in some dumb shit. We really never like talked to her. And now that we've been talking to her more over the last few years, we learned so much more about how she actually is similar to us, but we just didn't give her the chance. And so I think also the maturity in not writing people off is also important, because unless we had that conversation with her, we really wouldn't have known where she stood. And the friend thing, I don't talk to my friends every day. I think that, like, that's also something that I really like struggle with, is that because I have ADHD, I don't talk to people consistently at all. Actually, my close friends are people I've been friends with usually since college, or since like 2019, 2020, around movement stuff, but I don't talk to them every day. Like, I actually probably talk to them maybe once every few weeks. I'm not consistent like that. And they know that about me, but that doesn't change our relationship. Like, I still, like you said, the quantity of the quality of the relationship, matters more to me than the quantity. And some of them I used to like work with, so I'll see them every day. And then I moved back to Memphis and I don't see them pretty much that much at all. And it doesn't change like the relationship. So I think that you also have to be able to like kind of assess where you are, because I've always been like that. I've never been a talk to you every day, see you every day, hang out with you. Even in dating, I'm not like that. Like, unless they hit me up first, I'm probably not gonna think about it, because I'm very out of sight, out of mind. I'm just focused on the stuff that I'm doing in the moment. Very ADHD of me. So I think you also have to have friends who are understanding of that. Like, my friends know that the quality of our relationship is strong, and we don't have to talk every day to prove that. And if they need something, they know they can also call me. Like, they know that if they needed something, they need support with something, they need me to come to something, they need me to show up for something. If they just send it to me, I'm gonna show up. Like, I'm that type of friend. But I don't think you have to talk to them every day. I'm not the kind of person in general. I don't want to talk to people that much. Like, usually after we do the morning show, I don't talk to nobody for the rest of the day. I'm good. I'm all talked out. Did that answer your question, Geechee?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And to whoever suggested in the chat that I buy this book or read this book, Can Africans Do Economics? I've ordered it. Thank you for the suggestion. So we'll see what's up. Looks interesting.
I just want to acknowledge this comment. Somebody said I'm only 30 and it feels so hard. I do think it feels harder as you're getting older. I just turned 31. So I turned 31 last week. And I do think when I turned 30, I felt like I became so serious, like uber serious out of nowhere. And I was like, oh shit, I don't like this. It's too much. And then I was like, okay, I just need to calm it down a little bit, become a little more unserious. But I do think as you're getting older, you do kind of like start is the word auditing? What would you say, Jerry? Auditing, or like taking inventory of your relationships.
I think that works. Yeah.
Yeah, of like your relationships and like where they are, and like where do you see yourself like growing in those relationships. And it does make you become a little more serious. But I think when I kind of like stopped taking it and like I have to have this many friends at this time period type of vibe to it, then it actually kind of opened up more for me. So just don't like put restrictions on yourself, and like don't think too hard about it. Just kind of like let it happen organically. I feel like when it happens more organically and naturally, like some of my friends that I have right now, they were in a friend group together. One of them I knew in college, one of them I've known since middle school, and then one of them I've known since I moved back to Memphis, like in adulthood. And we all kind of just work in the same circles. But we become super close over like the last 2 years, but we weren't super close growing up. I know my friend Ariel since middle school. I literally knew basic things about her. I never knew her like that well, but now we're like very, very close friends. So sometimes it just be like the unexpected relationships that really become a thing. especially if y'all are in like the same field or like the same city, because we're in the same city. And now that I'm like more close friends with them, I'm like, oh, I should have been friends with y'all before this. Like we should have been closer before this. It's like such a strong, to me, I get so much from that like friend group. I'm also the group leader in all my friend groups, and I think that makes a difference too. Let's talk about that for a second. Because I asked this nigga, was he the group leader in his friend group? And he was looking at me stupid. I'm asking you, do you control the Sims or not? And he was like looking so confused. Have y'all ever heard that term? I'm like the person who's like the glue that kind of puts the friend group together. Basically, like my friends when I was in New York last week, I'm the one who said we should go to this restaurant, and then I was like, let's go to the Cosby House because it was like right the day that Malcolm Jamal Warner had passed away, and then
Oh, that's
I was
right.
like, let's go get ice cream, and they all just kind of followed what I did, and they were like, this is so much fun, Amber. I was like, I know, I love how y'all just listen to me and do what I say. That's what I mean by the group leader.
That was, yeah, I forgot about that story.
The Sims, like, what?
So you know how some people be saying, like, my friends aren't where they're supposed to be because they be following their location. To me, that's kind of like Sims. I don't follow my friends' locations. I don't have their locations. They don't have mine because I don't want to share my information like that. But when they do something random, like out of character, like if they're going somewhere they aren't supposed to be, like my friend went to Central Park this week. He walked to Central Park. He was supposed to meet us at a restaurant. I said, I can't stand my Sims not where they're supposed to be. It's just like a little term that I just be saying randomly.
Sims, in reference to the game The Sims.
Yes, like the game of Sims. Did that make sense?
I think so.
Man.
Can I just what was I forgot what I was gonna very quickly, this point about age, I just want to encourage again, as folks, if you haven't already, I think 30 is also a good time to do an audit on your health. I really want to encourage, with the hindsight of 2020, that people who have hit 30 double check your diet, start to make even incremental slow improvements to your diet, and please do core exercises. Start incorporating that into whatever and at minimum 150 minutes a week of cardio. Please start doing that. I just encourage whatever, 150 minutes a week, core, and some dietary improvements, because you hit 50 pretty quick, and that's like can be a precipitous downfall. Like this seems to be like a time where a real quick downfall in health, and so I just wanted to. And then Rad, thank you for the salute, Doc, for his incisive criticism of Norm Finkelstein's comments on the Black Panther leadership when he was 15 years old at the time of events. He referred to this man as pathetic. The better takedown, I do want to shout out. Yeah, Norm lost his mind on that. But the better takedown, I think, took place yesterday on Deculturation's channel. So I encourage people to check that out. It's a very long stream, but break it up in segments if you need to, or skip around. I think he criticized the whole discussion between Finkelstein and Breonna Joy Gray, which I thought I didn't focus on but one part. So so thank you, Rad, but check out Deculturation. Because Carlos took it. I got salute to the youngins, man. I'm hopeful for, speaking to 30-year-olds, for the next couple generations of haters. I think it's looking good. Huh?
I said we appreciate you. I do think 30 is a great time to evaluate. To evaluate your health in general. I personally have been doing that. I probably started around my 20s, but I did schedule an appointment for a podiatrist because I'm 30 and my foot was hurting and I was ignoring it. And I went to get some inserts because I got flat feet and now I feel way better. So
Amber, you got to. Yeah.
Yeah, they should stop ignoring. I think as a Black woman too, and when it comes to specialists that take so long to get into, I just was pushing through it. And so many people I know also do that too, because it's not always an option to just immediately go to a doctor. It took 3 months. It was not an easy process. But once I went, the guy was like, oh my God, like this is so bad. Like you weren't in pain. I was like, yeah, but what was I gonna do? Like y'all act like y'all got openings every fucking day. Like what was I gonna do?
No, that's big. I know our superstar is joining us in a second, but just quickly, the VA. I went to the VA decades ago, and that was one of the first things I did, and got my prosthetics measured out for my inserts and all that. Like, but if you have flat feet, please get some sort of.
They didn't do no measurements. They didn't do all that. He
Yeah,
just told me.
no, I got the actual joints. No, I got the actual I got the I used insurance to get that, like my VA health insurance to get that. Like they measured it out. They actually took a what is it, a cast of the foot, so it's, and then the prosthetic is made specific so that the arch does exactly what my feet need. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to walk. Yeah, I do have ortho. I got like super awesome. They are prosthetics, but they are it is a prosthetic.
It's like molded on your foot, right?
Yeah. But anyway, let's get to the
Converses. The doctor guy, I was like, the only thing I care about is can I wear my Converses? He was like, yeah, just put the insert in there. I was like, okay, cool.
And sometimes you got to take out the original and replace it to get it to fit. But yeah,
I did do that, and they fit. I mean, they feel so much better. I really should have got the inserts a long time ago, but it's expensive.
All right, but we got to move on from the shenanigans. We got to get to something serious. And Lorik is here to do. First of all, welcome. Second of all, I'm late to the name update, so my apologies. I think I misnamed you a couple times by accident.
You're good. So people think you're fine. It's both. This is my middle name. So
I'm just it's all I'm trying to
both the names.
If you go to Miami and you ask for Josh and Black Men Bill, you're gonna get like 3 people. So this is just a little bit easier. We got a lot of Joshes.
Okay, fair enough. But thank you for joining us.
Show out.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be gone. I'm going to the salon right after this. Gonna braid it up, but taking it out, washed it this morning. Nice to see y'all, and I'm cool with the shenanigans. Shame on you for all that. For shame on you for coming around with all this hair. How dare you? It's just Geechee's here. Look at what's with the background. Amber, Geechee's background looks great today. Geechee got the lighting. What's going on?
He's on the set of Shogun.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
I'm gonna be filming right after this, man. My acting debut.
No, Rising Sun Part 2.
No, I appreciated what y'all were sharing before. Actually, in B&B right now, we have a free clinic through Dade County Street Response. So the head nurse of that clinic just called and booked my labs because for our members in our community, we're having free health check-ins, physical wellness, things like that. Definitely get it checked out.
That is excellent. Yeah.
But it helps when someone calls you and is like, hey, I'm setting up your labs right now. So I can't take full credit.
Because it's whack to do it. It's
it is helpful.
We all need help.
It is helpful when someone does it for you. Is that like expensive that y'all are doing for people though, Laurie? Like, is it a big cost to like provide the clinic? Because I feel like it's not as expensive as people make it seem to be.
It's not, and I would love to have them on maybe to answer some of those questions. But it's Dade County Street Response. It's run by a doctor, some medical students volunteer and staff it, nurse as well, and they have their own internal operations. They just partner with us for things. But I know for this, for example, the labs are completely free and covered for the members. So
very socialist of them.
I'm glad.
Nice segue.
Nice.
Well done.
Yeah, I did that.
Amber is a professional. So how would you all like to? Should we just? I can pull up the Hood Communist piece. Are we going to start there? Or did you all want to talk about do anything preliminary? Preliminary
maybe
discussion.
Maybe just previously on, since y'all were off last week, and I was like, well, what's happening?
That's right. Yeah.
Forgotten. It was 2 weeks ago that we talked about this conversation. One about labels for your politic and your ideology, just comfort around calling yourself an abolitionist or a socialist or an anarchist. And then what does that actually mean? It's like, what does that look like on the ground for our politics? I think y'all were getting into that. And then we suggested reading ABCs of Socialism on Hood Communists by Ahjamu. So I think that's what we're about to get into today.
All right.
Yeah, good recap, Lurk.
Thank you. Just visited the episode right before I came on. Jared says I'm not a guest anymore. I got to do dishes.
I mean, a guest, like, is it a guest? Like you know, like
you home here.
Yeah, you do have to do dishes.
We know.
So this is the piece here. We can I'll put the link to it in the show description in just a second. The ABCs of Socialism and Hood Communists by Ahjamu. And anybody want to get us started with any of it, or are we reading any of it, or people have initial comments they want to make? How should we proceed?
Y'all want to read?
I think that first paragraph would be a good intro, especially because you have the highlight at the end, which is important. This because I feel like a lot of the disdain for what is called socialism is like, oh, white people, white man, blah 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 blah. And I think even if people don't say that, that's why they try to withhold from labels. So I think starting with that first paragraph might be a good.
You say why they try to withhold from labels?
I think it's rooted in obviously the propaganda that the U.S. has been engaged in for so long, but I do think at the bottom of that also, or along with that, is I'm not subscribed to something that this white man created or whatever. So I think that's kind of a misrepresentation of that people use. So yeah, so starting there would probably be good, just opening, and then as we talk, we can go through some other highlights that we all might have, or however we needed this move.
So if I can borrow from Black Man Build's presentation last night, is well, general presentation, or do we have any volunteers to read that first paragraph? Any? All right. It's not a stretch. Okay, go ahead. Good. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Nietzsche. You never
You gotta sit in the silence when you do that, Jared. It's okay. You gotta just
like the silence.
I didn't let it breathe. I didn't let it breathe.
I had to make my screen bigger. So it's not a stretch to say that during the last 100 years, the words socialism and communism have been two of the most controversial words and concepts on the planet. It's equally true that those two word concepts are also widely and tragically misunderstood. You don't have to go very far to see and hear someone talking about how the fall of the Soviet Union and fluctuations in China are proof that Karl Marx was wrong. So in order to clear the air, let's start by saying beyond the Communist Manifesto, Marx wrote very little about socialism, communism. The bulk of his writings were about the demise of capitalism as the dominant form of political economy. So if Marx didn't write about socialism, communism, and his name, right or wrong, is the name most closely associated with these concepts, then what exactly is socialism, communism, and how do you understand them and explain their impact to others? I think one of the reasons why I like that opening paragraph is because that's kind of how I like to frame the conversation. When people say yay or nay, as my sister Andrea always talk about, getting the language right is always important for me to make sure we're using the same definition. So that's kind of even why the other day I asked that question, like, well, when you say it, what does it mean? So I think it was important to start there. Any initial thoughts?
No, I agree. I mean, I was even thinking of, and whenever we have, 2 minutes and 41 seconds, I have a clip ready of the GOAT of all explainers of this. But I appreciate what was done here in this essay and in this opening paragraph in general, just as a succinct, relatively short summary that addresses so many of the claims that are used in or encouraged in terms of discouraging people to disassociate from these concepts. But yeah.
Amber, any initial thoughts, and then I'll share.
No.
Okay. I think I like this approach. It reminds me of Walter Rodney's approach, where you ask, like, why are people asking the question in the first place? So you try to understand how it actually shows up in real life. And so I think this is excellent, because when you say the words, it's just kind of three things. It's word association, it's great man theory. So it's like, Marx, and then people try and attach to what's around now. So let's say China, and then they don't even say Soviet Union. Usually it's Russia. So even there's kind of a historical trap that people fall into by trying to find actual socialism or communism. And then they go on to all their mainstream sources of information and are told that everything and anything is socialist or communist. And so I think this gets into like why that confusion exists. So it's a great opener for that reason.
Also, kind of back to the point when we was talking about debate, argument, and discussion, conversations like this is why I kind of struggle with saying, like, having conversations around socialism and communism and capitalism is a discussion, because when people talk about it, whether they know or not, they got this information for something, and they could be either misunderstanding something or misquoting. And I was always pushed to be like, okay, so how did you come? And maybe, I don't know if you're going to use the clip of Kwame Ture, but how did you come to know what is what? And if it's like, oh, I know socialism is bad because my teacher already told me it's bad, like that never get bring up in the discussion. And, I guess maybe if you frame that discussions aren't supposed to have a data or some type of source, then you can make an argument that there's no bad faith discussion, when you can make an argument about that with debates. But I just don't think we should be talking about things, that words and concept that has meaning, and not be either responsible to the meaning or
explaining it
around clarity on how we understand it to mean. But what did you say? I'm sorry.
No, I was agreeing. I was saying, or explaining it, which is the clarity thing that you said. I mean, I agree with the first paragraph. I'll also say that, like, I know some people were told like that socialism is bad. I've never been talked to about it. It's like it was never really mentioned to me growing up. I had to like find out information on my own. So I think sometimes some people don't hear anything, so they have no perception at all because they haven't heard anything, good or bad.
Oh, but I think that they do. They may not be aware of it. The amount of subtle propaganda and communication that goes against socialism, they have been. Nobody who grows up in the United States can make it to adulthood and avoid some anti-communist, anti-socialist propaganda at some form. Even again, just starting with the Pledge of Allegiance in schools, they literally added one nation under God specifically as an anti-communist, early embedded method of manipulating people with the idea that only communists are atheists. So
I never said that. So I never said the pledge either. So.
No, right, so you had a different.
But I always thought that shit was weird. I was like, why are we pledging?
So you asked really good questions, and it seems like you weren't really going with the grain, but you do recognize then that the grain is to indoctrinate you. Like, so most people who are not leading the Sims, as you said, are going to fall for the propaganda and the okie doke. But
yeah,
go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, really quick. Also, the follow up with Jared's point. When you explicitly are taught that engaging in business is capitalism, like, you can also be being taught anti-socialist and anti-communist rhetoric. So when people be like, "Well,
engaging in business is capitalism,"
say that again.
People say engaging in business is capitalism.
Yes.
Yeah, people be like, well, you got to make money, and it's kind of like, if you associate making money with capitalism, business with capitalism, then automatically you're already branded in thinking capitalism is the only way, alternative. And so that's a way of also spreading, along with the
like propaganda.
That's another way.
How to read Donald Duck. Salute to these Saturdays and Millennials collabo and others. But yeah, that's the.
No one's really ever said that to me, but maybe I'm trying to think of like something that someone said that I feel like the self-made hustler culture kind of engages
Oh,
that, but no one's ever told me like if
absolutely.
you do business, then you're a capitalist. Like, no one said that. But I
You
do
gotta-
think like depending
Mhm.
on where you
Sorry.
are, the wording or like the phrasing people use is different.
Mhm. I was just gonna say you just gotta. I think if you just did a random sample, like asking people to define capitalism, you would kind of get there. Or if you just kind of start with kind of what we did last night, critiquing Black business as a model, that's when people will be like, you don't like commerce, because people think commerce, any sort of engagement with business and entrepreneurship is capitalism, because we don't have that understanding, and because what Geeche's saying, which is we don't have a long historical view. So we're not thinking of other societies. We're just thinking this is how every single society ever has done it. And that's how they specifically teach us history, is like, this is just natural. It's logical. When you go to Marvel, they're a multiverse with aliens and they still got prisons and shit. Like, no matter what universe you go in, US democracy is like capitalism and the only way to go. So I think people by default, without having a vocabulary for other things, just are naturally going to start saying that stuff, you know?
I think also regionally, some stuff resonates more than like what people would say. Like I think because Atlanta is also like the bourgeois like type of environment. People are saying that more. Niggas in Memphis ain't saying capitalist. Like no one's talking about we live in a capitalist society. Like they're talking about other random shit
That's what makes the
around capitalism, but they're not
that's
saying
what
that.
makes it even more insidious. That's sort of the point I'm getting at. That we live in a capitalist economy and nobody talks about what capitalism is. So that's why I even like the point being made here by Umi in this piece. That again, just taking these what should be very basic, simple points and just making them plain about how these economies, that there are only two ways to have it set up. Either everything is owned by a handful of owners, or everything is democratically controlled by the people. That's it. And one is capitalism and one is socialism. The beauty of the and I do think it's beautiful as much as I hate it. The beautiful function of US propaganda is that it can be something and never talk about it and have you fully adopt and accept it without even considering what has been accepted or what is going on. I ask students every semester, what is capitalism? And the responses are predictable. I'll just say it that way. I mean, and what would you expect? Because it's never discussed.
Yeah, I think also like and maybe studying people like Amos Wilson and Bobby Wright and all these people who take more of a psychological approach to it and explaining what hegemony is. Being in control of narratives and in what people, as Amos said, the control of the domains of discourse, what people argue about and how people argue. You don't think about, oh, I'm taking a history course according to European blah, 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 blah. You're taking a history course. That's what you call it, history and economics and all these other things. And none of it talks about who's being centered in it. Right. So even the argument around Black studies and African centered, blah, blah, blah. Like, I mean, you're centering a collective of African people. But even then, so that's why you get the kind of confusions of even African centered today can be African centered capitalists or Black capitalists, because they're centering African elite people. And so I think having conversations around, again, how terms are being used, what it means to people. In this last point, I remember having this conversation with a brother, and this person was online. And they used to come online to tell me that it's over for Black people. We don't need to organize or talk about anything. We should just focus on our family. And I asked them, like, well, why are you on the line? If you should just be focusing on your family. You shouldn't be trying to convince other people to give up too, because if you give up, just focus on your family. And then he said, well, capitalism, I don't want socialism because I don't want nobody getting all of the fruits of my labor. I don't want anybody to get what I work for. And I just stopped talking to them because I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, have you not? And so I just think most people don't have discussions where they actually have to consider, as Jared says, the nuance in things. So I think that's where it's at. But then I also want to get into, like, again, how we all, the four of us, understand these terms, what it looked like, So in terms of, Ahjamu talks about the means of production. Then he also went into like what that would look like maybe a conversation around redistribution, how things are distributed versus this idea of just about profit. Like you can make profit in socialism, but is there a distribution or redistribution that looks different than it does in capitalism?
Well, I think he gets into it in this paragraph when we talk about what the means of production are. And so you have a highlight, either that process is organized and controlled by a few people, or it's organized and controlled by everyone. And so, for example, in a socialist society, the economy is planned around a number of workers, what they produce, how much revenue is generated by production and consumer dollars, and from that amount of revenue, how many people can be supported in the areas of housing, education, healthcare, etc. So right there, it just sounds like what our people always push for to some degree, whether they're aware of it entirely, but it's a socialist essence, which is community control of the resources, planning, distribution based on need, not just desire, working with the environment, obviously, because if you know how much you have and have an actual plan for producing stuff, you don't have that problem of overproducing things. So when I think of socialism, those are some of the foundational things I think about. I think Umi also brings up like the core contradiction of capitalism, which, even as a young Christian in church, I was able to figure out, which is we have enough food to feed everyone, and yet people are starving. So the problem isn't the production, the problem is the distribution. But it is the problem of production as well. It's both. It's definitely both. And then we get into, isn't socialism a dictatorial system? So yeah, I appreciate this approach of like doing the common questions. Like you said, Geechee, people just repeat anti-communist propaganda, kind of just without knowing.
This part reminded me of, and I think it's in Socialist Reconstruction. I can't remember where I most recently was seeing this particular argument, and it may even be in the BLA study guide, because I use their section on the economy of, well, several things actually, but we go through, like I've made it a core of all of my courses now. Everybody has to read at least a section or two of that study guide, and in particular the parts around the economy, dialectics, socialism, etc. And one of the points that they make that is similar to Umi's here is that one of the claims that we get is not only is communism or socialism dictatorial, when in fact it's the exact opposite. It's democratic. It's more democratic than anything. But the other part is, well, then won't I be denied ownership of any property? Won't that mean I won't have any land, or I won't have, the toys and the trinkets and all that stuff? Won't that mean I can't own anything? And I think it's in social, I can't remember where it is, but the point is that under a socialist economy, it doesn't mean you can't own anything. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean the state owns your television and your couch and your dishware. It's the broader, more important means of production in terms of what society needs. Things like healthcare, food, those things are collectively managed scientifically so that no one does without. But it does not mean that some state authority is coming in and turning the channel on your TV and whatever have you, and so on and stuff like that. So that, along with what is said here, I think is an important intervention in quickly alerting people that no, it's not some hostile takeover in the way we're taught.
I thought the frequently asked questions part was really good, because I do think people like compare socialism and communism to like a dictatorship or like those types of governments. So I like the breakdown of the questions. I didn't think any of these things, so it wasn't like a big aha for me, but I do think I know people who do think some of these things, and so it's helpful for them. Like I was sending it to some of my friends too, because I think it's important for them to like get the explanation. But I think the first beginning part, when he was just explaining the difference between socialism and communism, was really helpful, because I hadn't thought of socialism as a beginning to communism in like in stages, and I think that was helpful to like the breakdown of it. And some of these questions he put, I had never even thought about. I was like, People be thinking that. That's so interesting. So I think I also like just reading some of the stuff he was saying, because I was like, you never know what people like, what kind of propaganda people are pushing that you got to respond to.
So
can you scroll up a little, Geechee, before we move on? So I wanted to get into how we study as well, and because I know you again say you're skeptical of things and you're critical, and that's fine. Someone asked when this article's from 2021, so maybe people change their line, or maybe they have a reasoning for their line. But there's a lot of history.
Wait, can you repeat the beginning part? You said something about critical.
That we I know you're skeptical of a lot of things, and so you're not just reading this stuff as if it's gospel, and this person's not trying to deliver it as gospel. Like, it's something that we're trying to study together. We might have questions on, we might challenge. So I know that term scientific socialism is one. Like, what's the difference between scientific and socialism? So just highlighting new terms. I don't know who did that, but that's just an excellent study practice. And just being okay with maybe you have questions or aren't clear on, or might even disagree with some of the interpretations in a piece, but it's okay to come back to it. So I know here it says, for example, if you study the Soviet Union, that society, although it had components, can at best be classified as a state capitalist system. Now, this is actually like a pretty debatable thing within the socialist Marxist tradition. I've heard some people maybe categorize it as siege socialism rather than state capitalism. I know there's a history of that term state capitalism as like an anti-communist term. So, but then there's also legit critique of the Russian project. The reason why I wanted to bring that up is, again, like, we can debate these things, we can keep studying to get our own kind of analysis on it. But we also should just be looking at conversations from within our tradition, the Black radical tradition, which includes Marxism. So with this question, I'm like, well, who that's a Black Marxist has tried to answer this? Well, there's Walter Rodney's The Russian Revolution, View from Below, right? So I'm looking at Black Marxists. When I ask about like who are socialists or communists, what gets put in our community a lot of times is that they're hidden, like, from history almost. So like I've mentioned Angela Davis, and my grandpa didn't even know she was a communist. So when I ask who are the most popular socialists or communists in American history, most people, would have to say Black people, actually. And white leftists will just probably go to Europe and say Marx and Lenin. They might say Eugene Debs or whatever. But in American society, it would be what? Angela Davis, which means you're talking George Jackson. It would be Huey Newton. It would be W.E.B. Du Bois, a communist who's pretty much erased. Like, they don't talk about him like he's a communist in mainstream media. You have to learn that. So when I think about whose lineage I'm pulling from, even if we're talking about Marx in Europe and things like that, there's a very long struggle of socialism and abolition, because I know you like that term, that we can pull from. That's just very Black. So
yeah,
not I like that term.
No, but I think that leads to a question or even a thought. So as last time we were talking about something about labels, and then we talked about, well, even like when you say I'm a socialist or I'm a communist and then I'm an abolitionist, it's like, again, can you be something, or are you saying you believe in a particular order of things, right? And so the communist and the socialist can say, this is the type of social order that I advocate for, organize for, or want to engage in. Abolitionist, according to how I understand it, saying this is what I'm against. I'm against, or I want to destroy, but it doesn't also say what I want to build. So I'm curious, in terms of like the conversation around labels, are we seeing this as a label or an order of society that we advocate for or want? And does the conversation around labels a couple of weeks ago, does it shift now as we kind of talk about this or read through and talk about this?
Are you asking me?
You as well. I know you talked about labels, but in people in general, like I know I don't remember what people in the comments were saying about labels, but I do remember saying, "Oh, I don't like labels," and I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm just curious. I'm curious if that concept or that response shifted, or are there any other thoughts around as it relates to just calling this thing a label as opposed to what it actually is?"
Yeah, I don't think my thoughts have shifted. I do wonder, like, when you're saying, like, for folks who identify as socialists or communists, do people only identify as socialist and not communism? Like, or is that like a thing? Or if you identify with all of them, is there something else that you say? Like, do you label it? Do you say every single thing? Like, I believe in abolition, socialism, and communism, or do you just take on one? Because sometimes, like, I've seen people say I'm a socialist, I've seen people say I'm a communist. So does that mean you don't believe in the socialism? Like, you only believe in this end stage that's communism? Or if you're a socialist, do you only believe in socialism and not going to the stage of communism? I think that like always confuses me because I'm going to think of it very literally. And like, even like reading this, we're showing like the stages of socialism and what that leads to, which is communism. I always would wonder, like, well, how do you say, why would you say that you're one or the other? Like, how do you say you're both, or do you only believe in one? Like, that also kind of pulls at me.
Yeah, I don't think I ever heard a communist, somebody who described himself as a communist, don't understand or advocate for socialism if they know they would need a period of time of socialism to even achieve a communism. That's kind of also probably what I struggle with the anarchists. Like I don't know. They're gonna just jump through some shit. Like I don't know.
Well, that's if they know that, right? Like, because again, there are people in DSA who wouldn't claim communists, and that's literally called the democratic socialists. So, I mean, there's the pollution of the term. The Nazis have the term socialist in their party, like, so they're fascists who have literally co-opted socialism. So I would say that, Nietzsche, to your question, I think it's like a both. Ideally, a label describes your order for the world or how you see it, so it's an accurate description of what you want. But as you said at the start of this, and as this whole article is pointed out, we don't all say the same word and mean the same thing. So, Amber, to your point, you just have to ask. Like, you'd have to talk to people. Am I talking to the cracker socialists who are still cool with their countries invading and bombing other people? Or am I talking to revolutionary socialists who understand socialism as a transitionary stage to communism, right? And so it really does depend on what you're talking about. The reason why I guess I was a little confused about why you're comfortable claiming abolition, but not necessarily socialism, is I see that, like feminism, like a lot of things, as having a broad umbrella with revolutionary and like more conservative strains in it. So when a lot of people said, I mean, I was really confused when I came to abolitionism, because I kind of was brought in through, I think, more radical folks. And there was a discussion about, is there violence, right? Can abolitionists be violent? And I was like, what the fuck abolitionists are you talking about? Like, John Brown's an abolitionist now. But now I then think about it, I'm like, well, you're talking about the abolitionists like Harriet Beecher Stowe, who write sob stories that paint Black people like children and don't get in the field, or you're talking to abolitionists like John Brown who get in the field. So this is kind of, again, even today, when you talk about the abolitionist label, there are people who don't know Assata Shakur, don't know Angela Davis as a communist, don't know George Jackson. And so there's that strain of people, and then there are people who are. So I think that happens with any label, really. And we just have to keep fighting till we get clarity, you know?
Yeah, I think I would prefer thinking of it as more about ideology than a label. So,
yeah.
And also, someone in the chat said these are not labels. I will say the reason why we're saying that is because people in the chat previously were saying they were. So that's why we're saying it in that way. We're basing it off of what people were saying previously. Like, someone was asking me why I don't label myself in a certain way. So that's why we're saying it like that. But yeah, I think of them more so as ideologies. And I think that the one that I have the most experience in, that I connect more, is like the abolitionist politic. But that's also, like I said 2 weeks ago, a new thing for me. Like, I haven't been an abolitionist for a long time. I've only really believed in abolition since like 2021. So it's not like a immediate thing. And I tell people all the time that I'm a baby organizer. Like, I am very much fresh in my like political ideology, and it may change, it might not. I don't know. And I agree with what Ricky's saying too about it being a methodology too, because I think that the methods in which you organize are informed by what you believe in, and the ways that I organize are very much informed in wanting to abolish like police and prisons. But I don't know. I just don't think that I'm willing to like say more beyond that. I think that I believe in some of the things that we talked about. I don't know how I feel about communism. I like socialism. Like I said before, I like socialism. I don't know how I feel about communism in that, like, I haven't studied it enough. I get from this, I feel like from this I understand more about it, but I would want to read more about like why there's so much propaganda around it, because I have heard that before. Like I know that people view communism as a bad thing, and that like I always see my examples of communists are like the random people with like the Marx tattoos saying they're
Right.
communists, and like I want to be like a scare tactic of like I just want to be this extreme person in the group. It's never someone practicing it or like showing it in an authentic way. And so I've never seen like what that looks like to be authentically, believing in communism and the methods of it. Is more so I just want to be the eyeball out type of thing. And I live in Memphis,
Well,
so
you remember? So hang on, just real quick. So you remember I was saying about lineage, right? So like, do you fuck with Asada Shakur? Would you say that that's somebody who you? Okay, so I consider myself as taking on her struggle. So I come from that lineage, right? So Asada Shakur has a passage in Asada, the autobiography, that again, when we talk about, people actually have to read this, but she says that exactly what you said. So to me, I'm like, damn, some Black woman decades ago was going through the same dialectic, the same kind of thought process you are right now, and specifically said, I was told an anti-communist is someone in the trench coat, all of that. So if you are inheriting that legacy, then you want to go and find, what did she say about socialism? And then how is that tied to what you're saying? So abolition, one of the main things in socialism you learn is abolition of private property. And if you start threatening that, whether you are a communist or aren't, because Dr. King was not a communist, he was still branded as one, as Jared talks about, because theory is not the only thing. As you said, it's not your Marx tattoo, it's your action. Are you actually in the field threatening private property? If so, they're going to call you a communist no matter what, even if that's not your ideology. I'm sorry, go ahead, Geechee.
Well, I think again, all of us are coming into conversations at different levels, different whatever experience, and then obviously there's experts in the chats, there's people who are learning. I think everybody's trying to get to a place. So really quickly, Amber, as an abolitionist, in terms of, and I think you talk about like the police, and if you know the police are the armed agents of the state, to be an abolitionist from your vantage point, would that also mean getting rid of the state as well as the police, or just the police and keep the state?
Well, one, I want to respond to what Lark was saying. So like I said before, I read that book, which is where some of my ideas come from. So the thing that you're saying I'm saying is because I've read it and I felt the same way. I would say that I haven't gotten that far. I would say I've kind of thought about it a little bit, but I haven't gotten that far. And what you're asking, Geechee, I think that to me, if it plays out the way that I think it would, the state would end anyways.
Yeah, you know, that's a very communist thing to say. I think the feds would probably put you on our side of the book. But hey, if you want to claim the label personally,
I'm not like shocked. Me and my friends were in our group chat yesterday talking about how we're gonna be laughing in our federal deposition. So it's not like a secret or anything. But that's also, I think it's just reading more anarchist methods are like more successful because of that same like type of thought process.
Cool. I just ground that in study. So like if we want to talk about that, I would just go to Lorenzo Combo Irving and look at the Black Panthers and anarchism that way. I'm always just, if we're inheriting struggle, where are we going to pull from to get these things? Because again, like where am I seeing the word abolition? I'm seeing abolition of private property, which is a socialist, communist theory. So all I'm doing when I hear abolitionist now is being dialectical. I'm like, oh, so you're just talking about this. So as Geechee's saying, as a socialist, he can say, oh, armed agents of the state, private property, the prison industrial complex, all of these things make sense in the socialist analysis, and they work with abolition. I think as we're talking about, though, there's a broad range of abolitionists. And so you, even within abolition, are going to have to fight for that revolutionary strain versus somebody who's saying that it's something we can do while still keeping the state, in a way, as Geechee's saying. Or they have theories about just abolishing the state, but no methodology for getting there. And that becomes the other thing that scientific socialism, I know we're still going in this article, gets to, is that you actually have to have a method for doing something. So I see some people critique abolition as like, well, which are you pulling from? And I see some people critique abolition as, well, what is your method for doing things? How are you actually getting from point A to point B?
Yeah, I think the methods part is also a big thing, because I mean, even in like thinking through, well, actually I have another question. When you're saying that when you think of abolition, it's about like private property, what do you mean? Like, are you saying like as in like the police is private property? What do you mean?
I want to let Jared hasn't talked for a while. Jared, if you want to get on that one, I think we can keep scrolling in the article and there's some more that might get us there. But yeah.
Sure. But what I was getting at earlier was just as I understand it, the idea of there not being private property is primarily at the level of the grand means of production, so that the things that we need for society to function would be collectively owned. It does not mean that you wouldn't be able to have your own home or place to live, or you wouldn't have, in the context of the world we live in today, that you wouldn't have your own car or television or phone. It doesn't mean the abolition of that. It just means that everything that goes into the food and healthcare systems and housing systems, that is making sure people all have access to that would be collectively owned. That would be democratically run, so that we wouldn't have a situation where, as we talked about, I think in the call last night, there's more empty homes than houseless people, but it's the will of private property ownership that be. It's an obviously easy fix if we have a democratically, collectively owned society.
But that's more like you're talking about socialism and not abolition. That's why I was like,
so yeah,
even within socialism, but as Lark was saying, that within socialist and communist framing, there is an abolition of private property. So that's where I heard the overlap, but yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I also think that's kind of what. So even as when you say I'm an abolitionist, even though Lord was saying like this is what he thinks, I'm saying like kind of like even the conversation that Ricky was having in the chat that me and her had once before around dictatorship, like how it's being used and how people understand it.
It's different.
But also it's like something you have to consider. Like if I say, because even in the article, like somebody could just read what Ahjamu said out of context and said a socialist system cannot be a dictatorship since the system is organized around what people want. Until somebody said, well, the dictatorship of the people or proletariat or whatever. So I just think, again, the words are used loosely. So I remember even saying like what I would advocate for and how I would advocate for something. And then somebody turned around and asked me like, are you an abolitionist? And I'm like, I asked them, what do you mean? Like if I literally just said, I don't want this and I want this, like, I don't understand what you mean by abolitionist. And then when I try to push them to explain more, it was contentious, because I don't think most people who say they are abolitionists, and this is from my experience, most people I engage, they don't tell me exactly what they are wanting to abolish and then exactly what they want to replace it or build with. And so that's why it makes it hard for me to be like, you can't just be against every damn thing and you don't have any, like, because then what?
Amber,
I think that the terms are used a little too loosely,
yeah.
Like compared to what Geechee was saying. I feel like I have more strict definitions in my head than what some people use, and that a lot of people use them interchangeably when they're talking, and that also causes a lot of confusion, especially if they're like presenting it in some way or like, trying to sell it to people. It's confusing when they use it so loosely and aren't like more, strict with it. But I mean, I think we talked about before, like what my abolitionist politic is and like what I want to replace it with. Like I have a very clear idea, which is why when you said the thing about private property, I was like, well, when I'm thinking about abolition, I'm thinking about abolishing like carceral systems and like all of those systems that exist. And even when I was thinking through abolition, like in the first few years, like trying to working through what I thought about it, I really struggled with like abolishing CPS, because I had not had an experience where people were like, this is a bad system that we shouldn't have, until I did meet people who had bad experiences with CPS and realized how it was weaponized against Black people. And I was like, okay, yeah, I don't need that. But I think also it's hard to make a decision about something until you learn more about it, or you like hear lived experience of people who have experience with it, and then you're able to change your mind about it. And so even that was like a tough one for me. And I don't want to make choices just loosely, like just all loosey goosey. So I like to really understand something before I decide. And then I was able to be like, okay, yeah, I don't want that thing.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I'm seeing some things in the chat. I know BAP has a resource apparently with definitions. So I really do think this is just a question of definitions, as you're saying, and us being clear on things. Elon raises like, what about abolition versus anti-imperialism? And to me, what you're just describing is you're doing socialism, you're applying socialism methodology to the prison industrial complex. Abolition was applying that to the chattel slavery in the New World, right? So it's talking about a very specific concept, but that's part of a larger imperialist process. So what was happening to Native Americans when they were getting their land stolen and they're getting put in these concentration camps is also part of this sort of imperialist system, but you can frame it as a prison. You can frame it as early parts of incarceration. So all you're doing is reading the same.
Or westward expansion.
Right. So you just read, and all of these practices on the plantation, we saw early factory practices for capitalism and things like that. So I just think what you're doing with abolition is reading that specifically in the context of like the prison industrial complex, which arose from chattel slavery, union busting, stuff like that. I think what a lot of people are doing as socialists is just applying that to other fields of society. So what does that look like if you're into transportation? What does that look like if you're into education? Things like that. So I think abolition is a term that just talks about a specific stage of imperialist or an anti-imperialist struggle, which is prisons, chattel slavery, that kind of thing. But if we want to just go more broadly, obviously all of those things are a part of the imperialist process. All those things are part of capitalist process. On private property, what we do with Black Men Build for PE is we like to do field assignments. So I'll actually ask people to go in the field so they can come back and tell me what they think words mean. So for private property, I will ask, like, go in the field, and I have examples. So when I go to a literal beach, a public piece of land, and it says no trespassing, I'm like, boom, y'all, here's private property right here. You can't go to the beach and just chill. When you see some factory that's polluting your water and it says no trespassing, private property. So I give people that, and I ask them to give me the same. So when you talk about prisons policing, if I'm comparing it to slavery, again, chattel slaves were private property. That is, so when we talk about the abolition of private property, if you were to take that back into 1800s America, you're talking abolition. So that's why I'm just like always, a lot of us are just playing these games with definitions.
That's why it was abolition of slavery.
So what you're saying, so that's why we get the term abolition of slavery. So you could have just said abolition of private property. Why I keep talking about lineage though, is because Du Bois is thinking of it this way. And so if I'm trying to go back and find the person who has the most solid analysis and probably prescription for action, I'm looking for the person who thought about the problem that way. And so Du Bois as a communist is doing that, which is why he frames the Civil War as a general strike by Africans withholding our labor. And then, so that's a socialist communist framing of the Civil War. If you go to US history class, all kids aren't getting that today, right? So that's where, again, we then find these things to explain it. We might find abolitionism. That might be one thing. Someone might find anti-imperialism. Our job as socialists, as scientific socialists, as Umi's doing here, is to make it plain and to like read those things together. That's how I see it. So,
yeah, I think what Elon was like saying in the chat about the abolitionists versus anti-imperialism, I think that anti-imperialism is more broad and more international related, and that's not like where my organizing is centered. So I like to hone in the term a little bit more for me, because I know that Elon is also doing more things around international, like things happening in other countries, and I'm not.
well, this is the internationalism thing. So this is Malcolm, 100 years. You know, we are an international people. We're international struggle. So I was just going to ask you about something we're doing in Florida right now, which I don't know if you've seen it, but Alligator Alcatraz, which is where DeSantis and them are building a prison in the Everglades, and it's a concentration camp, essentially. That is an imperialist, an anti-imperialist, like that's about that, right? Because people are being displaced from their communities. They're going on native Miccosukee land, to put the prison. So it's that struggle, same as Cop City, and they're taking resources and using technologies that they've tested on Africans, because Florida is where we put more Black boys in jail than anywhere. It's like top 3 every single time. So I'm just saying, I'm asking you why you don't read that as an imperialist situation, or why you're not seeing the international elements at play in the prison struggles you're talking about.
I didn't say I didn't see the international elements at play. I said that that's
Okay.
not what my organizing is centered around. I said I understand the term. I think it's more of a broad term used in relation to abolition, but that's not what I'm organizing on. Like, that's not so specific. I'm doing a very specific type of organizing, and it doesn't include those things and some of the things that like Elon is working on. So that's why I think it's different, in that it can all be under the same umbrella, but that doesn't mean that that's the thing I'm focusing on.
But so I think I think I hear what you're saying, but I think as it relates to, because one of the things you also focus on is the struggle with ICE, right?
Who?
You or your people. I thought you were saying something like you had a crew of people who are protecting people from ICE, correct?
There's an org here, yeah, not me. There's an org here.
Oh, I thought you was involved in that work too.
Well, so my question is, even if you're focused on, because I'm assuming you're talking about Black people, right? You're focused on Black people in the U.S. Because even then, because if we talk about Black people, what we're dealing with right now is my Haitian brothers being locked up and thrown in cages too. So I guess we're talking about Afro Americans, but I see Jared's got some Malcolm X pulled up, but even that is an international struggle, right?
I thought I've had the Kindle, but I just got the physical copy of this book sent to me from Prison Radio the other day. So I was looking back at it again, Beneath the Mountain, an anti-prison reader. And this quote just sort of stuck out to me. Malcolm X is quoted as saying, the greatest mistake of the movement has been trying to organize the sleeping people around specific goals. You have to wake the people up first, then you'll get action. Wake them up to their exploitation, the interviewer asked. No, Malcolm replied, to their humanity, to their own worth. And the way I'm interpreting that, at least today, is a little bit in this slight, as I'm hearing it, tension between what is being said, Amber, and the rest of us here, that part of, or that I also think has become a tactical flaw, that in organizing around one or a set of specific issues, we lose sight of broader ideological, awakening needs, et cetera, and so forth. And we lose sight of these connections that need to be made. And then we end up, without thinking about it or maybe being aware of it, limiting the analysis and the encouraged actions and responses that even those specific issues might require. So I don't know. I may be wrong, but it just stuck out to me. I thought that was,
Are we
I'm
losing
sorry?
sight of it? I said, are we losing sight of it, or does someone have a specific
Did my mic
thing
unplug?
they want to?
No, we
hear me.
Oh,
we can hear you.
sorry.
I can hear you both. Yeah.
Are we losing sight of it, or did someone just not mention it, and so then it feels like that? Because I think the issue here is that I know that imperialism is a global issue, but I just didn't talk about it. And I think that the assumption that because I didn't talk about it, then I don't understand it or whatever. I think that the main thing I see happening here, especially in the chat, is that if I don't say a specific thing, then I either don't know about it or I don't believe in it. When the thing we should be focusing on is I'm talking about a specific thing that I do believe in, or I am working towards, which is abolitionist methods. So that's what I'm focused on. That doesn't mean I don't believe in the other things. I just said I just don't want to label it, because I feel like if you label yourself one thing, if you don't label the other 8 things, then you get written off. And I just feel like that's not what I want to do. And
but that's what I think they're saying, though. I think the argument is not like, do you believe in the methods, right? Because if you said you agree earlier with that, what Elon and Ricky was saying in terms of methods, I guess they're pushing back on label versus methods. So as Lorik says, if you're using communist, if you have a communist outlook and the methods of abolitionists you're using, then you wouldn't say socialism is a label, and you'd be like, yes, this is how I am working on using those methods, and I'm using it only in this area. So I'm not using it in education. I'm not using it in ecology, land, whatever. I'm using it here. I think that's where, for me, I hear the.
I said earlier, I'm not the one asking about labels. I never said that at all. I said that if you're asking me, am I labeling myself as something? I'm not going to respond because I don't want to. It's not what I want to do. I would much rather focus on the things that I do care about and the things that I am working towards. And I don't think that you have to have a label on it to do that. And I think it limits you. It also puts you in a box.
That's what happened last week. The other week, you said label first, though. I think that's why people were responding.
I didn't say label first. Someone in the chat asked me, "Am I a socialist?" Someone said that,
and you said you don't agree to labels.
Do I label myself as a socialist? Someone else said, "Do I consider myself a socialist?" They were asking multiple times if I believe in socialism. Do I label myself as a socialist? Am I a socialist? Is Amber a socialist? They were asking that multiple times. That's a label.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with claiming labels. My thing is like, again, which lineage do you claim that you're inheriting, right? So my whole thing is, if you don't want this lineage, don't claim Asada, right? Or don't claim Nkrumah, or don't claim these folks. If you're not pulling from them, if you just, so that's my whole thing about labels. Again, like, it's about where are you pulling from? How are you practicing this sort of thing? I do think, though, the question is, and it remains, for example, why, and you said before it was your lack of knowledge. So that's just a question of study. But why you're comfortable accepting some labels and not necessarily others, given how they can be read together. So with Africans in the US, even everything you're talking about could be framed through anti-imperialism and abolition. So my whole point is an and. I'm asking you to read them together and asking why that can't be done. When I look at abolition and who I'm pulling from, so Sundiata Acoli, and so it's a little unity here because there's an anarchist press that republished this. There's a Black nationalism. There's all these strains happening in revolution at any given time. But when Sundiata Acoli, Asada's comrade, talks about prisons, my abolitionist reader, he says, the African prison struggle began on the shores of Africa behind the walls of medieval pens that held captives for ships bound west in slavery. So if you're talking to me, Josh, about where I pull from for the history of abolition, it is the struggle to Africa. And therefore, it's always international. So if someone says to me, hey, are you an anti-imperialist? I'm like, yeah, of course, because to me, the abolitionist struggle begins in the medieval pens in Africa. So I have no discomfort claiming that. And all I'm asking is, what would make you feel more comfortable claiming that? Or if not, just do you acknowledge that idea of picking from a lineage of struggle and why it's okay to claim certain labels if you're clear about where they're coming from?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when we were talking earlier and I was talking about like abolition in general, and you were saying, yeah, that's exactly what Asada said. I think that shows clearly where my lineage is coming from, because I just said it and you recognize where it was coming from. So I think it's very clear what I've studied and what I am focused on and what I do understand. And I would rather, talk about those things. I don't want to go delve into things that I'm unsure about. I think that's just, I don't think people should speak out of ignorance. I think that people should speak from where they know. And I was able to do that in this conversation about the things that I do know about.
Absolutely. And you engage in study. But Asada also says we have a responsibility to learn and to know more. So she says, I didn't want to study Marx and Engels. I wanted to study Kim Il-sung, Ho Chi Minh, Fidel Castro, but my comrades Huey had me study it, and I'm better for it. And I don't think of Marx as some great founders or fathers like some of the white Marxists do. I just think of them as just two dudes who had a contribution to struggle. So this is how Asada says it. So I hear you. I'm just saying that, again, there's a responsibility here. She's saying, even if you don't know Kwame Ture as well, it is your responsibility to then study and then feel comfortable. So it's just a journey that you have to take on, if that's what you're claiming. I think you're frozen on my screen.
So just FYI, folks, I'm gonna have to leave a little bit after 10. I got another doctor's appointment. That doesn't mean you all have to leave. I just need to let you know I have to leave. So if there was something that we wanted that required my involvement, please let me know. Otherwise, folks, the essay we were discussing is linked in the show description. And we encourage people to obviously read it and continue the discussion, and as we will here. But yeah, I just want to put that. I'm not cutting anything off.
Run that clip, though. Run that clip that you was going.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wait, can I answer Josh's questions first?
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say we talked about that 2 weeks ago as well, and I talked about that I was already in a study group, that I've been in study groups. So it's not like I'm not doing study. I think that people's ideas change as they learn, and I just might not believe the exact same thing as other people at that moment. And I might change that. You never know.
Okay, that's all I can ask.
Oh, whoops. Here we go.
Brittany wants to ask, are you FBA or ADOS, Amber? Since we're talking about labels.
Oh, Lord.
Go ahead, Jared.
Socialism hasn't gone anywhere. It has been betrayed, yes. But betrayal doesn't mean collapse. Perhaps they get confused because at least Judas had the dignity after betraying Christianity to hang himself. Gorbachev is still running around the world picking up pieces of silver. Must be clear here and not confused. I'm a socialist. One other thing I must tell you now. They confuse people about socialism. Brother the other day said, "Why ain't no socialist?" I said, "Why not, brother?" He said, "Because it's a white thing." I said, "Oh, really?" You see, Europe tries to make believe that everything that comes out of the world comes out of Europe. I told the man, I said, "Socialism ain't no white thing." He said, "Yes, it is." He said, "Karl Marx discovered it." I told him, Karl Marx never discovered socialism. He cannot. You call the laws of gravity Newton's laws. I'm sure there's a mnemonic device to help you on your quizzes. But you certainly cannot believe that Isaac Newton can found that a body falls at the rate of 32 feet per second squared per second squared. He can't find this. He can't discover it. He cannot invent this. He can only observe it and record it, discover the law. If I'm sitting in Timbuktu in Africa and I've never heard of Sir Isaac Newton and I'm conducting any experiments with gravity, I will come to the same conclusion that he does. A body in motion tends to stay in motion unless stopped by an outside force. He cannot invent this. He can only observe it and record it. Marx did not invent socialism. If I'm sitting in Libya, in the deserts, and I'm doing any research with capital and labor without ever having heard of Karl Marx, I will come to the same conclusion that he did. That anytime capital seeks to dominate labor, there'll be a ruthless, uncompromising struggle on the part of labor until it comes to crush capital and dominate it. This is a fact. My history demonstrates that. We came here as chattel slaves for centuries. We fought and fought and fought until we crushed it. Now we're just slave of the wage, and now we've got to rise up and crush that one. That's to declare that Karl Marx didn't invent socialism. It's there for all to see. Karl Marx's great contribution to the world was in the area of historical materialism and dialectical materialism, something you need to know if you know about socialism. But since you don't know about socialism, you don't even know the words. And not only does the enemy keep you ignorant, you stay ignorant. You won't ever go read a book about socialism. Why read a book about socialism? They already told me in my class it ain't no good. You will not even read a book about socialism. Why, you don't even read a book about your history. We come to inspire you to learn. We come to tell you that when you come to serve a people, you must know as much as you can. The more you know, the better able you are to serve the people.
Now listen, that's called my boy. You know nothing about that.
No, it's good. Enjoy your doctor's appointment, Jared. I hope they fix you.
Hope you
Me
get some
too.
great news.
Yeah, it's all good. It's but you know,
a different article.
I'm down for us to pick another article and continue this next week. And I don't know what your bandwidth is, Lorik, but your involvement is of course welcome. And but yeah, just let me know.
I think maybe even a good article that that one would advocate said this is a good explanation of abolitionism, or a good article that says this is probably why we should stop using the term. Either one, or whatever. Yeah, any good topic for or against.
Has Dylan Rodriguez written out his argument as to why he won't use the term abolitionist anymore?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm down.
We could talk behind the scenes. Yeah, I still recommend Sundiata Kohli's though. Just it's Black August coming up. I'm down to read.
Let's go. I'm always ready. It stays Black August. When is it not Black August?
Yeah.
I only have one calendar. So
Yeah, I'm fine with doing something next week, but after that, because we're doing Black August stuff, I ain't gonna have the bandwidth to do reading for this and that because we're doing classes 3 days a week. So
Yeah,
It's overlaps.
Yeah.
It's all the overlaps.
No, a lot of reading already. I feel you, Amber.
no,
Yeah, I'm never.
I
Yeah,
have
it's
to read
I've never
and
got caught
do.
up.
I'm
Yeah.
doing lectures on some stuff. We have people coming in to speak to, but it's
Yeah,
gonna be a lot. So I have to.
be good.
And I got pre-reading next week. Yeah.
Yeah. It's study fast, train fight. Appreciate y'all for having me.
Yeah, Josh, if
I'm
you send
excited to come back.
the one you want to do,
Word.
or if she has one they want to do, we can do it for next Friday.
Cool. I'll send it over, Geechee. If you got one, we can talk. Hit y'all behind the scenes. Appreciate
Jared,
the work.
can you
All right,
post
good people.
the Kwame Ture speech in the chat? They're asking you to post a link.
Sure.
It's from his University of Georgia, I think. Jared,
Just Google Kwame Ture and socialism.
Your episode is dropping right now, right?
About ADOS?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mixed what I like. Dr. Sundiata, Real Talk last night. Go check that out. Definitely want to
Absolutely.
Darker Than Blue, Black Myths, all the things. Dare to Struggle, Dare to Win Wednesday. Please check out all our great programming.
Yeah, I had a question. Man, I forgot about that. We gotta double back on all of that. Please, everybody, make sure you have the bell rung so you're not missing stuff. We'll be back. I'll be back at least with Renee tomorrow, Saturdays, Ear Doctor Sundays. Just make sure the bell is rung because otherwise, it's hard sometimes to keep up even when you're involved with the calendar. So do yourself that favor. Please support the Patreon. Get you some of these merch. Even cold coffee tastes good in these fly mugs. BlackLiberationMedia.org. Hit the store. And then peace. Only if you're willing to fight for it, like Fred Hampton used to say. And we'll see you next week with more
Remix. 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 Remix.